If when you're listening to music through your hearing aids, it sounds tinny, distorted, flat, or like someone's put a piano inside a biscuit tin, your hearing aids aren't broken. They're probably doing exactly what they were programmed to do, which is to prioritise speech. And in this video, I'll show you exactly what to ask your audiologist to change in order to optimise your hearing aids for music. So this is the thing, hearing aids are primarily designed to help you to understand speech, but music isn't speech. Music has bigger peaks, wider dynamics, richer low tones, harmonics, sharper attacks, and sound coming from all around you. So when your hearing aids treat music like speech, they can squash it, clean it, filter it, and flatten it until it no longer sounds like music. So today I'm going to give you a 7-step checklist to take to your audiologist, including the programs that you need to ask for, the features that may need switching off, and the one appointment trick that gives you the best chance of making music sound natural again. And by the end, I'll do this. I'll also explain why one music setting might not be enough for you, especially if you're a musician, a singer, or someone that wants to listen to music in different environments. For context, I run one of the UK's largest independent audiology clinics, and we fit hearing aids to musicians, performers, and music lovers every single week. So this is hands-on advice that I use daily in clinic. If it sounds all too familiar that your hearing aids sound great for speech but are awful when music starts, then do not panic, you are not alone. Whilst a lot of the best hearing aids out there have automatic systems built in place that scan your environment and try to decide whether you are most likely to want to hear speech or reduced noise, music is different, and a hearing aid that is brilliant at finding speech in a noisy restaurant might be doing all sorts of things that are helpful for speech and completely unhelpful for music. It might be trying to reduce background noise, focus microphones in one direction, smoothen those sharp peaks, or suppress what it thinks is feedback. So the mistake that I find that most people make is assuming that the automatic program, which yes has a dedicated music section, will always know when you're listening to music and what kind of music that is. And rather than hoping that your hearing aid will guess correctly, if I come across a patient who's keen on music, I think it's best to add a dedicated music program that you as a patient can select yourself either by pressing the button on the back of the hearing aid or through the app on your phone. And if you're a musician, I may even go one step further, as you may benefit from more than one music program. For example, one for listening at home, one for live concerts, one for singing, or even playing your own instrument. And potentially an adjusted streaming setup if most of your music comes through your Bluetooth streaming of your smartphone. Now, some of you might think that this sounds excessive until you think about it properly. Listening to a string quartet through your living room or in your living room is not the same as playing a trumpet in a rehearsal room or standing next to a drum kit on stage. So why would we expect one setting to work perfectly for all of those situations? So, step 1 today is simple. Don't rely on the automatic mode. Ask for a dedicated manual music program that you've got some control over. And later on in today's video, I'll show you which features usually need changing inside that program too. Because again, this is where most fittings go wrong. Now this is where musicians and audiologists can think that they're on the same page, but they may be speaking a completely different language. So my second point today is to ensure that you're talking about the same thing when you're talking to your audiologist about sound. And again, this all comes down to speech, and your audiologist may not have the same musical frame of reference as you do, so will possibly be approaching your hearing aid fitting from a speech and a physics point of view, rather than be talking in terms of clefs, chords, and keys. Now what I mean by this is normally when I'm talking about high frequencies to a regular patient, I would be thinking about speech clarity, so sounds like s, f, t, k, and the frequencies that help you pick out consonants. But then when a musician says high pitch, they may be talking about the upper keys on a piano, the edge of a violin, the shimmer of a cymbal, or the harmonic structure that makes one instrument sound completely different to the next. And there is a massive difference in the adjustments that this would result in. Hear me out now, I'm going somewhere with this. So, for example, the highest note on a standard piano has a fundamental frequency of around 4,186 hertz off the top of my head, with the harmonics above those fundamentals still being part of what gives the instrument its character, gives the piano its character and its fullness and its sound. Yet when we look at the speech frequency range for the sounds that I was talking about earlier, so the S, F, T, F, T, S, K sounds, these are somewhere between 4 to 8 kilohertz. So if you simply say, can you turn up the high notes, your audiologist may reach out for the handles around 8 kilohertz, whilst you are actually talking about something completely different. Believe me, it happens. I've been there. Step 3 sounds obvious, but so few people actually do it, which is to bring your music with you. If you play an instrument, take it to your appointment if it's practical. It is a joy to walk down the corridors in our clinic and you'll hear a flute playing in one room, you'll hear Brandenburg's concertos blasting out of another room, because real-time music tested with your hearing aids being adjusted is the only way to know what your hearing aids are doing, as you'd hope. If you don't play an instrument, bring a playlist of songs that you know incredibly well. I'm not talking about your entire record collection, just 3 or 4 short clips that each test something different, i.e. one vocal track, one acoustic track, one track with some bass, and even better, one track that currently sounds awful with your hearing aids. And I would definitely recommend something familiar to you, because your brain already knows what it should sound like. You know where the vocals should sit, you know how the piano should feel, whether the bass should be warm rather than boomy, and whether the cymbals should shimmer rather than hiss at you. This will give your audiologist a much better target and something to work with on the spot, rather than adjustments being made and you going home and seeing if it works. Now I get it, you're probably sat there thinking, Matthew, this is great, but at home I have a Steinway and there's no way of fitting that in the back of my Honda Civic. Don't worry, I've got a solution for you too. All hearing aid manufacturers have a remote adjustment feature these days, so you can literally be sat at your piano connected to your audiologist in their clinic and they'll be able to make live adjustments for you to test it out. How cool is that? By the way, before I move on, I'm going to quiz you a little bit. I'd love to know about your experience listening to music. So you watching me right now, have you had a great experience? Have you had a poor experience? Let me know in the comments, the model of your hearing aid and whether you've had issues listening to live or streamed music. And whilst you're at it, you know what's a good idea? I reckon you should subscribe too. So press the button just down here. Now, if you've got everything else lined up that I've mentioned today, then you're ready for the next step, and that's to adjust the music program that we created in step 1. So today's 4th step is to review the features that are designed to make speech easier, because those same features, believe it or not, will be making music sound unnatural. This does not mean that these features are bad. In fact, they'll be essential for everyday listening, which is exactly why we've created this separate music setting. And so we want them working on your automatic setting in your main program, that's to highlight speech, but not for adjusting or manipulating music. And so building on that, in this music program, we want the hearing aids to do less. We want less cleaning, less adapting, less suppressing, and less trying to decide what is speech and what's not speech. So within your music program, ask your audiologist whether these features can be reduced or disabled. I'm talking about the likes of the feedback management system, which is incredibly important to get that switched off, noise reduction settings, wind reduction settings, impulse or transient noise reduction, speech enhancement, and all automatic environmental classifiers. Essentially, any feature designed to suppress sounds that the hearing aids will think are unwanted. And the feedback management system is a classic example of this. Your hearing aid may hear certain musical tones and mistake them for feedback. It then tries to cancel or alter them, which can create distortion or even a really peculiar warbling sound. Noise reduction is another one. A sustained note, a cymbal decay, or the resonance of a room may not behave like speech. And so the hearing aid can start to treat part of the music as something that it needs to reduce. By the way, don't worry about taking notes on all of this. I'll share a whole checklist with each point at the end of today's video, so it'll be nice and simple for you. The 5th adjustment that I would recommend for a better experience when you're listening to music is all down to your microphone directionality. Now, in a lot of everyday situations, directional microphones are brilliant. If you're in a restaurant and the person that you want to hear is in front of you, the hearing aids may try and focus forwards and reduce all of the sound that's coming from behind or around you. But again, this isn't normally what you'd want to happen with music. For example, at a concert, the room matters, the reflections matter, and the sense of space around you matters too. And if you're playing in an ensemble, the sound you need to hear will be beside you, behind you, and all around you. Or a singer may need to be able to hear their own voice, the piano, the guitarist, and the room all at the same time. So for a music program, I would ask for microphones to be set in an omnidirectional or just a more open microphone mode to pick up sound more naturally from all around you rather than aggressively focusing in one direction. This should technically make music sound less narrow, less processed, and also more open. The sixth step that I'm going to talk to you about today is all around compression. And this is the part that can make the difference between music sounding alive or flat. Now, all hearing aids nowadays use something called wide dynamic range compression. And this compression helps to turn up sounds so that they're loud enough, the soft sounds, so that they're loud enough and bring them within your audible range, whilst stopping loud sounds from becoming uncomfortably loud. So essentially, the hearing aids react differently to different input levels of sound. But guess what you don't want hearing aids to do for music? You got it, to react differently to different input levels of sound. Music relies on dynamics. A quiet note should still feel quiet and a loud note should still feel loud. The build-up, the attack, the release, the punch, the movement, the overall feeling is all part of the emotion of music. And if the compression settings on your hearing aid are set too strongly, music can start to feel squashed, with everything sitting within that same space, just all mashed together, pulling up the quiet parts and compressing the loud parts and losing the shape of the music, let's say. So one thing that your audiologist may want to look at, again under this music program, is to use a lower compression ratio whilst keeping sounds comfortable and safe still at the same time. That's also very important. And building on that is the maximum power output, aka the MPO on your hearing aid, which is the loudest sound that your hearing aids will produce. Your audiologist may want to look at whether the MPO can be safely increased, because if it's set too low, music can hit a ceiling and again start to distort. So the seventh and final step to your hearing aid sounding better with music is to adjust any frequency lowering settings that might be engaged. Now, different manufacturers use different names for this, but the basic concept behind them is all the same, which is to take very high frequency sounds and move them down into a region where the hearing aid user may be able to hear them better. Again, this is a brilliant feature for improving speech understanding, especially for somebody with a significant high frequency hearing loss. However, here we are again, guess who it's no good for? Anybody that enjoys music. This is a big problem, as it essentially changes the pitch of the sounds that your hearing aids are producing for you. So finally, on that music program again, ask your audiologist to disable any frequency lowering features that might be switched on. And while I'm here, I've got one more bonus before we finish. Make sure as well that your volume control is enabled on the back of your hearing aids. Now, this sounds very basic, but it's incredibly important in my opinion. Music listening is personal. You may want different levels for a quiet acoustic track, a live band, a rehearsal, or streaming through your phone. A usable volume control allows you, let's say, to make small adjustments yourself without needing a full reprogramming every single time. So here is the checklist to take to your audiologist. Step 1, create a dedicated music program. Step 2, be specific about what sounds wrong. Step 3, bring your instrument or a familiar playlist. Step 4, reduce speech-focused processing. Step 5, use a more open microphone setup. Step 6, protect the dynamics with sensible compression and MPO settings. And then step 7, review frequency lowering. And of course, I mentioned the bonus again, make sure you have a volume control. But saying all of this, sometimes your hearing aids can be adjusted brilliantly for music and you may still not get the best experience. And that's all because the hardware, input range, receiver power, processing philosophy, venting, ear mold fit, and even Bluetooth pathway can all affect how music sounds. So if you want to know the best hearing aids that I think are available right now, you might want to check out this video.